All right, guys. So, welcome back to a new video. A bit of a different setup today. So, I technically already recorded my vlog, my gym vlog. Right, so today is Wednesday, December 3rd. It's now been about 11 days post SBD Austin. So, it's pretty exciting times, right? But anyways, so pretty much we're going to keep this short and sweet. This is going to be a recap, right? And in essence, we're just going to go over the game plan, how we executed. I'm going to give you guys a insight, behind the scenes kind of stuff, just like what my thoughts were going through each lift during warm-ups, and then just how we called audibles into the competition, right? Because obviously we did miss my third bench, we missed my third deadlift. I guess missing third deadlift, there's nothing you can do after that, right? In terms of in the meet, because the meet's concluded, that's it, that's your last lift. But how do I say this? And plus, I do want to start off, I guess, the recap with just talking about how training was going into this meet and how we handled my pec injury, because I didn't really feel the need to talk about this publicly. I didn't feel like I needed to pose to make excuses for myself, because that was not what this meet was going to be. The last thing I was going to do was start spouting excuses. So training, right? Let's go ahead and start this off with how was training going into this meet. And I'm going to try to keep this to around anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. So training going into this meet, we actually tried a lot of new different things that we introduced into this training cycle, right? I think the biggest that a lot of people were very interested to see how I was going to develop was low bar, right? I finally swallowed my pride and I finally humbled myself to the point of swapping my technique. And that was a really big decision for me to make, because if you guys know me personally, you guys know that I'm a very proud individual. I am proud in my nattiness. I am proud in my strength, and I am proud in what I do. And one of those things was I was proud in my technique. I pride myself in being very technically proficient with my body, my leverages, and my abilities. So for the longest time, I thought that swapping my technique to something more favorable over what I was already doing was, in essence, a sign of weakness, because if I wasn't strong enough to do things how I had already been doing them, then that in turn was a shortcoming on my behalf. I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. And that was a big thing for me to envelop, because I genuinely had a come to Jesus moment where I was just so ashamed of my world's performance, and I had just felt so much shame from the fact that I hadn't PR'd my total in almost 3 years, that I was like, you know what? I need to try something new. I need to reinvigorate and change some of my habits, and I need to express that outwardly. So some of the things that I did, I started growing out my hair. For those of you guys who don't know, me growing out my hair was one of those things, because I remember talking to Saria and I was just like, hey, I need to do something different. I need to become another version of Jesus than the version of Jesus that has been showing up for these past few years and falling short. So I was like, you know what, man, I've never really grown out my hair this way. I mean, if you guys followed my journey at the very beginning, I did have long hair, but it wasn't how it was I'm growing it all around my head. I think back then I just had an undercut, so I would just like get braids on top. My hair was if I can find a picture, I'll put it up. But you know, it was just like that. And then, you know, ever since I met Surya, you know, I would just rock a buzz with the fade. You know, that's a very clean look. Even now, there are times when I see pictures of myself and I'm like, dang, like that's a cold look. But I needed to stay true to my convictions and to my beliefs and what I had already set in front of myself, right? So, you know, I grew out my hair, still growing it out. I'm probably growing it out for at least another 7 months, you know, just to make it a full year. And then we swapped low bar, you know, like that was a big one, right? That wasn't just a technical change, you know, that was me coming to terms with I'm not as good as I think I am, and I need to get better, right? And then number 3, we added a third bench day. Actually, no, I think we added a third bench day earlier in the year, right? But still, I want to throw it on this list because I've only been benching 3 times a week for about 6 months right now, maybe 6.5 months. So still a relatively new change. And number 4 or 5, I've lost count. And the last one is I've essentially been tweaking my deadlift form almost meticulously for the past like 8 months. Honestly, it has been about 8 months of legitimate incremental, like the smallest possible perceivable changes in technical, from a technical standpoint, week to week. Like I cannot express to you guys how many times I would try something new with the most minute deviations, and it probably took me maybe about I don't know. I don't really feel like I found somewhat of a finished product until 8 weeks prior to SBD Austin, right? So it was a very, very long journey involving a lot of nitpicking, a lot of little work, a lot of little details that just I thought over and over and over and over until I was confident that it was going to show up on meet day, and it did, right? Anything over 390 kilos was essentially like what embarrassed me on meet day, right? 395, 400. So to essentially like hit a total PR, even, I mean, yeah, it's just a 1 kilo, but so I'm not like super proud of it, but a lot of my hard work was very present on this day, so that I can take joy in and I can be proud of. But anyways, that's pretty much everything that's coming off the top of my head. Yeah, and then 2 weeks out from this meet, I did pull my right pec, and essentially the last 2 weeks of prep, I had to like press what I could, and the heaviest that I managed to work up to was 500 pounds. So we'll talk about that more as we get into it. So let's go ahead and start recapping the meet, guys. So let's go ahead. Opener, 430 kilos, 948 pounds. Let's give it a watch.
Total our sport has ever seen with 1152.5, and a lot of people think he might break that today.
We're going to see something today. Definitely a crowd favorite. I mean, we're getting a treat here. This is literally the strongest lifter that we have ever seen on this planet Earth. So it is exciting to see what he's going to put together today.
And Russ, what do you make of this note? Weighing in at 182.4, this is the heaviest
Okay, hold on.
he's ever been.
I think we're going to see.
Okay, so Ryan here says that this is the heaviest I've ever weighed at 182.4 kilos, right? But he's wrong. The heaviest I actually ever weighed was in 2024 Sheffield. I weighed in at 411 pounds, which is about 187-ish plus kilos. Or so I'm still a little under 5 kilos lighter, than I was when I hit that 478 originally, but I am about 10 pounds heavier than I weighed in when I first hit the world record total.
Some great lifting today.
Is Jesus the strongest and heaviest version of himself? If he is, we're going to see a memorable day. Wow! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so that was probably the best opener I have ever felt in recent memory, because squats normally don't feel that good come meet day. They don't feel good in warm-ups. They don't feel good on the platform. They feel a lot harder on meet day than they do in training, right? Obviously, strength has its different way of expressing itself, but some of the things that I was doing differently with squats going into this meet was, so I did low bar for about 6 months, I believe, prior to this meet. And the last 6 weeks of training, I'm sure you guys who keep up with my training saw I was in crazy numbers, crazy sets, right? Like there was a month where I literally hit like rep PRs every single week. But I want to preface by saying that I think that some of those squats weren't to competition standard depth, right? I think in 75% out of 100, they would probably pass, but they weren't undeniable, right? The fact 25% suspect percent, still too big of a margin for me to feel proud of and call undeniable. So the last 6 weeks, I toned down the intensity by a lot, and I just started focusing on making sure that my depth was going to be solid for meet day. And obviously, I think I had nine. I had perfect lifts every single time, which I think is a first. I always get a red on my third squat on my left or right side. But this meet, these are all IPF level judges. These are all very respected officials in their own right. So this was a legitimate meet that I think is judged very similar to a world's level, right, or a Sheffield level competition. Very official, very strict. So obviously, all that hard work was coming into fruition. So 948 smoke show. Let's go to our second
Three-ball in the chat. Yeah. And that is a family of 5 on this young man's back. It's
not sure. And what's interesting too is that he's actually switched to low bar squatting.
He's talking about that.
How much
where it's high bar, but now he's actually moved down to low bar. So once again, I mean, this is 1,003 pounds, y'all. This is actually insane to see in person.
Now, can 1,000 pounds slow this man down? He's as big as he's ever been. His training has been pacing for an epic performance.
Can you guys see how whippy that bar was walking out? For whatever reason, every single squat on this day felt stupid whippy. Honestly, I think due to the bar being a little bit lower on my back, I was able to stabilize it a little bit easier. But on this squat, this is the squat that hurt my shoulder because of the whip. It was whipping so bad that I think it just kind of pushed my shoulder a little too far back. And, here we are, a week and a half later, trying to rehab this shoulder.
And the answer!
Yeah, so right there, probably either the fastest or second fastest 1,000-pound squat that I have ever done. The only one that I think could contend with this rep in particular would have to be the 1,003-pound squat I took before I hit 478. So right here, we're building great momentum going into the third. Squats are going exactly as planned, right? The only deviation is that I think the original plan was to go 430, 460, but I mean, a 5 kilo difference is very negligible at this weight. So, we took the 5 kilo smaller jump, and, I think the numbers game that Joey and Grant were playing was, let's try to set Jesus up with the best attempts to break the total record, right? Obviously, the priority is breaking the total record, having a good day, and then anything on top of that is just, you know, it's extra fluff. It's a cherry on top. So let's go to the
No, it cannot slow him down, Russ. 1,000 pounds.
I don't know what to say.
Disrespected on the platform.
I don't know what to say. Center for this one.
Whoa! And look at the war paint being put on the face of Jesus Oliveras.
I'm so sorry. I got to stand up for that. I know I'm commentating, but I got to stand up for this one.
Shout out to Russ.
78.5. The biggest squat. This is an American record. Here he comes.
I do want to say that this is a Powerlifting America record, not the unofficial all-time world record. That record is still being held by Ray Williams, absolute legend in the game, but I think I'm going to have a good chance of smacking that pretty soon. But if I had to guess which one guy was going to hit that before me, it would have to be Devontae Lewis. But yeah, that guy's a total freak. I should look him up. So yeah, 478.5, a half kilo all-time PR attempt, 1,054.9 pounds. If I took any shortcut, I would just say 1,055. If I would have known it was 0.1 off, I would have told Joey, let's just go 479, because I like even numbers like that. But let's watch this.
I gotta see this with my own eyes.
Here he comes. I'm on my feet too.
Oh my goodness.
It gets no better than this.
I want you guys to pay attention to this rack over here.
Wow.
Look, follow the pressure. Dink, dink.
Strongest man that ever lived. Jesus Oliveira. Let's go.
Bro, I hit the rack twice. Wait, hold on. Twice. I'm not gonna say that if I wouldn't have, it would have been like even that much faster, but I do think it would have looked smoother. And if you guys know the saying, slow is it's slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? I think I'm saying that correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but you guys know that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, right there, hitting all-time PR, and unofficial IPF world record, right? Personal best to me. And I think out of all of those, that to me is the most important. I hit a squat PR for the first time in 2 years, 8 months. Thank you, Jesus. And then let's go to bench.
I cannot tell you. 245.
So again, due to me hurting my pec, the game plan was essentially like, hey, let's open up super light. This is probably the lightest bench opener I've taken in a very long time. I can't tell you how long, but long time. So like, let's take an easy opener to, you know, just keep the chips rolling. And then the second attempt was the lift that was going to set us up and just have us in range and increase our chances and our likelihood of, you know, chipping the all-time total world record. So 245.
That is a big human being.
Somewhere in Tokyo,
Super easy lift.
murmurs something's happening today.
I actually tried to tell Gabe no handoff, but I mean, either way, we smoked this.
Yeah, that's somebody's squat. Just get
The Joey Flex, making sure that those commands are locked in mentally.
Let's just go to a second. We jumped 20 kilos from 540 to
272.5,
584.
601 pounds. He's in the 600-pound club. If he hits this, we might see that loaded again. or slightly more. That's a strong second attempt.
It was a smooth second. I honestly felt like I had
his body almost ate the bar.
I think 10 keys more for a small PR. And that's what I was telling Joey right here. I was telling him I have 10 keys more.
Jesus Oliveras. Well, it is 275 after all.
Wow.
So a personal best squat and a personal best bench press.
I can tell they want this bad.
606 pounds.
Watch this. I'm going to show you guys
Jesus
that the bench has step on the rack.
For the heaviest
Pay attention to this side
performance
right
in
here.
powerlifting history here.
People are standing up on the seats. Phones are out.
Look.
Right there. Literally right there.
So, I think you guys can see it, right? I felt like my left arm was still like grinding it out, and I felt like my right arm still had juice left in the tank. And I kept wondering, like, why does it feel like it's not moving? Why does it feel stuck? And I watched this back, I think, like the day after, and I'm just like, that's 10 keys off the total. I hit this, and we're looking at potentially an 1165 or 60 plus. So almost a 10 kilo increase to the total. But anyways, we're still in a good position here. I am going to get 275 next year. Next year, 275 is getting smoked. And I'm doing it on my second attempt. As long as my pec stays healthy. I do think had my pec not had any kind of injury that far out from the meet, I think I honestly felt like I was going to be good for 280, at least. I thought 280 was going to be good going into this meet, and the fact that, it wasn't, but we still managed to hit a solid bench, and a bench that put us in a good position to have a good day. I'm going to take that any day of the week, 10 times out of 10. I consider it a miracle that we still managed to hit 265. I was a little worried there 2 weeks out. But little fun fact, every time I feel like I tweak something in training, I always ask my sister Bertha to pray over me. And, we're 2 out of 2. I think about 12 weeks out, I felt like some discomfort in my abdominal wall, almost kind of like a hernia. And we were at my son's 1-year birthday, and I was like, sister, can you do a favor for me? And she was like, what's up, bro? And I was like, can you pray for me? Can you pray for healing? And you know what she did? She put her hands on me and she prayed for healing. And that pain was gone. I was not squatting with that discomfort anymore, moving past that point. So when I heard my pec, I was like, sister, can you pray for me? And she prayed for me, and I feel like we made a pretty solid recovery. And this is still after my shoulder got hurt on squats, because I was already feeling my shoulder kind of like start to get painful after squats. So, to me, this is a very miraculous, successful bench session, because it didn't take away and it still put us in good position. So, thank you, Jesus.
Very close.
Tough. Usually don't.
So then, going into deadlifts, right? This is original opener, but I think instead of jumping to 410, the original plan was 405, right? Excuse me. Joey wanted to do 405, but because we missed my third bench, the magic number to break the all-time total became 410. And I remember warming up in the back, and I looked at Joey, and I was like, Joey, because he was asking me how I felt and what I thought, and I was telling him, I told him, I was like, hey, man, we either have it or we don't, and there is nothing to discuss in between them. If that's the number we need, then that's the number we need to load. And, Either I got it or I don't. And he looked at me and he was like, I guess you're right. And I just knew, either my training, either my hard work, either everything I had done to improve my grip and my lockout was going to show out, or it wasn't. There was no in between. There was no like, oh my gosh, like maybe we'll get a lucky call our way. No, it was we're gonna draw the line right here, and we're gonna succeed, or we're gonna fail and have to try again. But let's watch these deadlifts. Let's watch these deadlifts.
Have extremely big deadlifts, but he's one of those unique.
So 375, pretty easy opener. 826 pounds.
The only thing you have to worry about is grip.
And if you've been following him online, he has worked so hard on his deadlift.
Wow.
And his deadlift has looked on point with that grip, that technique.
That's me telling Joey with his group.
Wow.
Jesus Oliveras, 410 kilos. We're over 900 pounds, Russ. This will put Jesus to 1153.5.
Wow.
And that's over what he did at Sheffield. This is the biggest
Just started getting into that zone again, man. Like
Should he hit this?
They're going straight for it.
All in. Oh! Jesus Oliveras!
Oh my goodness!
Does it again!
Go!
Does it again!
3 more!
And he doesn't need all of his attempts to do so.
Did you have a video of my 430?
Let's go! Wow.
Who would have thought missing?
So at this point, this lift gave me the 1153 and a half. So I had officially PR'd my total in almost been 2 years and 8 months, and I remember that because they had it posted on the thing. Oh man, I've been telling Joey and Surya for so long that if I didn't have a good meet, I have no idea how I would have handled falling that short again. No idea, because I am a lifter who puts it all on the line, man. I put everything on the line. I train so strict. I stayed true to my beliefs. I'm not perfect. I've messed up. I've fallen short on multiple fronts, not just on the platform. And it's just when I feel like I'm pursuing God in my personal life and in my spiritual life, I just feel like He's with me when I'm lifting these weights. And my confidence isn't in myself. It's in the fact that I feel like God is lifting these weights with me. So it's just, I can't help but feel a little emotional because in the last 2 years and 8 months, I feel like I've just grown so much as an individual, as a man. I'm a father now. I'm expecting my second son. And it's just like, to have God's mercy shine on my life and be with me when I need it. It's inexplicable. I can't put it into words. So, just gotta give God the glory for that. And people ask me, like, why do you give God the glory? Why do you always have to bring it back to God? And I'll say in a few very short, simple reasons. Number one, God made me. He crafted me. He knew me from the womb until I was born. He gave me these abilities with these gifts. Number two, He has saved my life on multiple times. I should be dead by now. I tried to, myself. And I've been in accidents where I should have, but God just had a special plan for me, and He kept me out. He was with me through the fire. You know, he helped me break out of my depression, right? He gave me my siblings who helped mold my passions, my determination, like the little intangible aspects of myself to the deepest crevices of my person. He put those people in my life and he made them who they are, you know? Love you guys. And then number 5, you know, like my life has just been, I always tell people, like when I moved to San Antonio, when I picked up powerlifting, I just felt like I was a leaf in the wind. You know, I was just going wherever the wind blew me, doing what I did. You know, it's kind of crazy that a little leaf in the wind ends up doing something like this. So, thank you, God.
Us missing his third bench in only his second one.
And then we decided to kind of YOLO it for the full 30.
I just can't.
Come on. He has the strength, just needs the grip.
Oh! Jesus! Oh! So close. So close.
That 430 was close. It was close. I actually attempted this lift twice, this prep. Narrowingly, missing it narrowingly. I hope I'm saying that correctly. If not, I feel like I don't know. But 430 is going to fall one day. It's there. Like honestly, I have the strength to pull more than 430, but it's just I gotta keep working on this, you know. Gotta keep working on this, baby. You gotta keep making it better. Which I am. I feel like I see the path to making my grip unbreakable. So yeah, so let's just, you know, that's kind of a cool little meat recap, you know. And I guess just to like finish it out with the conclusion, you know, I don't want to take too long. Like this is already like a 30-minute video. It's just something that how I feel differently now compared to the first time I hit this total is I'm not really sitting on it. You know, like I am happy that I achieved redemption and I am happy that my hard work bore the fruit that I was like cultivating. But I think the 30 kilos that I missed out on is hinting in our next direction, you know? You know, people always talk about the 500 kilo squat, you know? Honestly, I will probably total 1,200 before I hit anything over 500 kilos on the squat, because my body weight, where it is right now, is very important to my current deadlift leverages. So, if I wanted to hit 500 kilos, I would probably have to put on another 15 pounds of body weight in my estimation, you know, probably 20 just to be safe. And I think I'd probably smack it, right? But then again, I've only been doing low bar for 6 months. So I feel like I've essentially in 6 months managed to catch up to my all-time best with mid-bar at 10 pounds lighter body weight. So those are a lot of good takeaways, right? A lot of good takeaways. So who knows? Maybe in another 6 months, you know, like my body will be fully adapted to low bar and like everything will just be even better. So, you know, maybe I don't have to put on the body weight and maybe I hit it sooner than I expect. And then with bench, that is probably the lift that me and Joey have been like talking about the most post SBD Austin. And I think I'm going to have to be a little bit better with my discipline because I was starting to get into a habit of like desperately trying to push every single session I felt good. And I don't think that really led towards anything positive. You know, it was a lot of bad. So, you know, it's just chilling. I think I'm going to have to like have a medium day, a light day, and a heavy day, right? Instead of just trying to be greedy and go heavy and force the progress, right? And I think that's what led to my pec getting kind of a little strained 2 weeks out. So I need to be more diligent and disciplined when it comes to that. And then with deadlifts, I just gotta keep doing what we're doing, but take it a step further. I have to, I have an entire set that goes into the 350, and I told myself that I was gonna hit that 350 2 years ago. So I've gotten to the point to where I can do a few reps with the 250, but that 50-pound jump from 250 to 300, it feels very difficult even budging it. So we're getting better. We're getting better. I feel like I've finally found the formula to replicate and improve these results. So I'm excited, man. The future is bright. Training might take a bit of a dip here with my second son being born and trying to kind of figure out how we're going to navigate, 202. But, I have the perfect team around me. I have Saria, God bless her. She has been the cornerstone in my life. She's turned every single apartment and unit that we've lived in into a home. And she's been in charge of my nutrition. She's my comfort, and it's just whenever I don't want to talk about powerlifting, she's who I go to. And I could go on and on, about Syria, about my family, my brother's calling me every now and then and telling me to stop being a little cat emoji, or Mo calling me and telling me that he feels like I'm kind of slowing down a little bit, and and this, all of that, and then my sister, us having our talks about our faith and edifying each other, with our belief in Jesus and stuff like that. So it's just, everyone's played a role, everyone. And it's just, it takes a team to make the dream work. So I'm going to have this team with me for the foreseeable future. So hopefully, we're going to go smack 1182 and a half. We're going to go get that 2,600 pound total. Honestly, I think we can do it at nationals. And I'm not going to get into that same mindset of saving myself, because when you're trying to do these kind of performances, it's an injustice and a poison, right? Because comfortability is poison. And when you tell yourself I don't have to go that hard, it's going to screw you up. So I'm going to push going into nationals with 100%, trying to hit another total PR, and it's just, I need to be able to sustain and maintain this momentum. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in for this meet recap. Technically the heaviest all-time total in sleeves, and it's just stiff bar, not no monolift, not no squat bar, not no deadlift bar, not no bench bar, not no weak standards, not no high squats, not no fast bench pause, not no soft walkout, not no 24-hour weigh-in, not no PEDs. This is God-given talent, baby. Hard work, day in, day out. And we did it. And we're going to do it again. So, peace out, guys.